right, welcome into week one of our first ever WATD high school fantasy draft. The football season is upon us, and we thought a fun way to just mix up the coverage, give you something different this year that you haven't seen before, would be to do a little draft of some of the local area high school players. So we're pulling from pretty much South Shore, Metro South area, everything that falls under our umbrella of coverage here at WATD and on our sister station, WBMS. It will be myself, Quinn Kelly, and my fellow co-hosts over on the Sports Exchange, Johnny Rourke and Brendan Connolly, will be doing the drafting week in and week out here. And basically, the parameters are this. We will take one quarterback, two running backs, and two wide receivers or pass catchers, could be a tight end depending on what system you run, each week. It's a 5-man team. We'll do kind of a modified version of traditional fantasy scoring. Probably won't punish for things like fumbles or interceptions just because teams don't often report those in the stat line. So we'll modify typically what you get in fantasy scoring and calculate our totals each week. A nice little healthy competition in between us. And of course, you'll be able to get involved. Pick who you think the winner is going to be each week on our Twitter at SE on WATD. So without further ado, let's enter into the war room. Johnny Rourke, Brendan Connolly with me. Brendan, we're dealing with some video trouble still, but if we get that up, we'll have some video for Brendan.
I'm trying my hardest. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I hit start video, and then my computer just doesn't seem to want to work out.
All right. Well, audio is the most important. You can always throw a still image in there.
That's why we're on the radio.
We don't
have the faces.
Let's just throw my combine photo out there because I think it's perfectly fitting for this.
All right. The order tonight, randomized pre-draft, will be myself, Johnny, Brendan. It's a 5-round draft. Again, as we said, one quarterback, two running backs, two pass catchers. Sorry for all the boys on defense. You will get your shine some other way this season. And well, we might as well dive right in. I'm not quite running to the podium with this one, but I have my first overall pick in the first ever WATD fantasy draft. And I'm going to leave who I think would be the presumptive number one overall pick. I'm going to leave him out on the board. I'm going to take a running back first and foremost, and I'm going to go with Cassius Johnson out of Plymouth South.
That's
so.
Darn it.
Yeah, reason on this, a couple of things. Obviously, we know how good he is. He's been an absolute monster in a very short high school career. He's coming off an injury last year. I expect him to be hungry to come right out and perform early on. I will also say I like the opponent this week for him. No disrespect to Silver Lake, but it's a very first week under a new head coach in Mark Killinger, a head coach that they didn't have throughout their entire summer conditioning program, whatnot. So I imagine there's still going to be a kind of getting to know you period between Killinger and the Lakers. And I expect that Cassius Johnson will take advantage of that week one.
That one stings. That's one you had circled for sure. But I don't know how many times you clicked generate on the random generator to get your number one pick. We only saw the end result.
We did only see the one. Well, Johnny, lucky for you, you are number two. So jump in.
Yeah, I was eyeing Cassius Johnson as well. But this guy who I'm going to go with, kind of a tough matchup. I think going against a pretty good defense, but I got to go with Matt Festa, quarterback of Duxbury. I think he's
who am I going to pick now?
One of, if not the best quarterback in the state. A kid that you can look to be really productive. And again, they play in Hanover, who's no slouch on the defensive side of the ball. But I would be foolish to not take him here.
Yeah, that's who I was alluding to. I think probably the presumptive number one overall pick, a guy who I imagine is going to light it up this year. And I think definitely a worthy first quarterback off the board. All right, Brendan, your first round pick.
I don't know. I mean, now I'm kind of lost. Those were my first two picks on my list here. Now I'm going to start digging here. Now I got to look at the matchups too. That's the hard thing. I kind of want to lean with a running back from the South Shore League, maybe an Izzy Ricketson here. I think I'll lean with him because he seems to have big games whenever he takes on a big rival, and I feel like this is a perfect matchup for him.
All right, I like it. Izzy Ricketson, he's got Cohasset week 1. He's going to be the featured back now. Obviously, they lose Curtis Lucas Summers there at Abington, as well as their other big bruiser who is escaping me. It's going to kind of be the Izzy Ricketson show. There are some other guys that are feature in there, but he will be their lead back. But certainly a tough matchup for him week 1 as well. With a strong defensive front for Cohasset, reigning Super Bowl champs coming into town. All right, with my second overall pick, this one I have to say I'm struggling a bit with. I'm going to go. No, I'm sorry, I'm not. I almost let it slip away. I'm going to take my quarterback, and I'm going to go with Will Baker. So I passed on Festa because I felt like there was a really good second option this week. I like Will Baker. Abington's going to be working in a lot of new players onto their defense. Baker's got a lot of good options, and I think that Coach Pete Afanasev has made it clear he's going to be a big factor in their run game. So I think that kind of dual threat nature, a guy who profiles like a young Josh Allen. I like the idea of building a team around him at the head. So I will go with Will Baker out of Cohasset.
That's a solid pick. I'm going to go. This is a guy who I love, and I think he's posed for a big year. I almost hesitate with where I'm at, but I want a wide receiver right now because I feel like I can get more value with the running backs later. I'm going to stick with the same team. I'm going to say Chris Walsh. Big Chris Walsh guy. I think he's again posed for a big year. And I think Festa's going to look to him as that security blanket against Hanover week 1, where you're trying to work out some kinks. First game, who do you go to? Well, the guy that's been there for you, and was there for you throughout the playoff run. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, absolutely dominant. I think they're going to have a really talented wide receiver group again this year, and they always do. And I think he's going to step in and be, the premier option within that group. All right, Brennan, your second round pick.
Well, again, another issue here. I had Chris Walsh circled myself here for Duxbury because out of those 4 receivers on the list, or 3, I should say, he was the guy I think that would emerge the fastest here in his, I believe, senior year. So that was the guy I had circled. So now I'm looking at the rest of the wide receiver list. I'm going to go with Cam Montero from Brockton going up against Barnstable. He's got to be the guy. He's going to be the guy in Brockton this season, and he's going to be putting up huge numbers. That's what I'm expecting. I think it's a safe pick despite the tough matchup against Barnstable.
I love that pick for you, Brendan. And I'll tell you, part of it too that really excites me is, he's supremely talented, no question about it. But you add into the mix this year for Brockton, they get the transfer back in of Ko Osanubi, who had 2 touchdown receptions for CM in the Super Bowl last year. Well, he comes back to his hometown at Brockton. That's only going to help Cam Montero. Like, that's an extra weapon that teams have to defend against, a proven commodity. So I think Cam is going to have a big season. And if they want to get off to a better start than they did last year, meaning the Brockton Boxers, he's going to be a big part of that. So I like that pick a lot here for you week 1. All right, I'm going to dip in. I need a receiver first. Both of those 2 guys were on my short list of 6. I believe I'm going to head to the podium with Nate Caldwell. I'm going to go with Nate Caldwell out of North Quincy. I probably, in most weeks, you won't catch me doing this. North Quincy is one of our South Shore games of the week this week. But fortunately, North Quincy's opponent is Somerville, and they're not one of the towns in our area. They're not a South Shore team. So I feel comfortable that I can be openly rooting for my fantasy pick while I'm on air covering it. I'm going to go with Nate Caldwell. He's going to be the top receiver for North Quincy, and I'd like to see them get it going with a big win over an opponent that has struggled mightily in recent years in Somerville.
This one. I know I'm currently juggling two that are on the same team, two running backs that are on the same team, and I got to pick the one that is going to do better here. I'm looking at Rockland. I'm looking at them at Hingham. It's really Leander or Coldstring.
Are you more a Thor guy or are you a Flash guy? It's
You
thunder
see,
or lightning.
that's the question. You know what? I'm gonna go with Lucas Leander. I'm gonna go with him as my first running back off the board. Just a guy that I honestly think Rockland can give Hingham a game and can absolutely go in there and win. And I think that rests on the shoulders of both Leander and Coldstring. So I'm gonna go with Leander.
Brendan, your third round pick.
I mean, at this point, I feel like the quarterbacks that we know are going to be good have been taken off the board. So I'm kind of just want to keep with the value with receivers and running backs at this point. You know what? I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to go with Colin Morley out of Scituate. I feel like he's going to be their featured back this season. And going up against Milton, they're going to be relying on him heavily. That would be my pick here.
I like that. I think it's an important game for Scituate to get off on the right foot. Our good friend Dom Damari joining us on Sunday evening show, telling us that he's hearing good things out of Scituate. A lot of new faces. Colin is obviously not one of them, but he'll be a little bit newer to the backfield, filling in, coming off a year where you had a very experienced backfield. And I would expect that as they're getting things going, they're going to lean on him. And the one thing that Scituate hasn't lost is size up front. I mean, they've got three behemoths on the offensive line still. One returner, one kid who his name is escaping me, but returned from private school, and another who elevated to the varsity squad this year. They're still going to be good on the ground, and it's going to start against, I think, a defense that is probably lacking a little bit from last year in Milton.
They've got Danny Thompson, who I just recently wrote an article on in the Boston Herald, and he is a behemoth, as you mentioned. He was the one that set up that game-winning play against Duxbury. I think Scituate's going to rely heavily on the run this year, and then maybe we'll see a progression at quarterback from there on out.
So I'm going to kick off round number 4 here. I have a quarterback. I have a running back. I have a receiver. I'm going to dip into my second receiver. And I think, Johnny, I liked what you did there with the pairing of your quarterback and receiver. I think I'm going to follow suit with that, and I'm going to go with Jamie Smith from Cohasset. This is another tough one, I think, in that there are two guys for Cohasset that I really think could be not only great in this game but great this week. I'll go with Jamie Smith. I'm interested to see who kind of elevates as option number 1 for Cohasset, but going up against an Abington team that is moving on from Tommy Fanara, from Drew Donovan, from a bunch of guys who had a lot of experience on the back end. It'll be some fresh faces in the secondary. So I'm going with Jamie Smith out of Cohasset.
We really are putting all our eggs in one basket there. You know, they start to run the ball, them or Duxbury, and we're screwed.
Yep.
So I got one of everything. I got a quarterback, I got a running back, I got a receiver. I don't think either of you were going to pick my running back, so I'm going to go with receiver. We've already picked a Brockton receiver off the board. I'm going to go another one. I'm going to go Osanubi. I'm gonna go with him. It's a little bit of a gamble because I think Montero is the guy that they go to a little bit more. But again, hey, they're playing Barnstable, so they're going to have to look for different playmakers, and that's what he is.
I feel like that game for them could be high scoring in the first half. I think you're going to see them go to the air quite a bit in the second half. And as I said, I think they're going to be a great complement to each other. I don't anticipate one getting a ton more usage than the other. So I like the pick a lot for you, Johnny. All right, Brennan.
See, this is a tough one because I see a receiver that I know is going to have an incredible season, in my opinion. But he has such a difficult matchup in week 1. I don't know if I want to pick him at this stage, but I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to go with David Quinlan out of Hanover. I think he's going to be a stud in the Patriot League this season. Watch out.
Yeah, I love that pick. I shied away because of who they're playing. But I think he is going to have an absolutely monster season for them. just kind of looking over things for them. I won't tip picks, but they do have their quarterback in place. And I think that there's going to be less of a drop off than we initially thought for them in the absence of Michael Landolfi. I'm encouraged that Hanover could have a good season. I still think it's going to be a really tough week 1 for them. But David Quinlan could be a bright spot in an otherwise difficult game. Plus, you get the advantage, Brennan, of you're gonna set the tone for the week. That's a Thursday night game, so you're gonna be the first one with points on the board.
Nice.
All right, I'll dip in around 5. I'm going with my running back to round out my roster, and I'm gonna go with Chad Silva out of Oliver Ames. This kid's flat out a beast. As a sophomore, he had 214 yards and a half of a game. He was well over 1,000 yards last year. He is the featured back over at OA, and they've got a matchup this week that I think he can most certainly take advantage of in Brookline, a team that hasn't been good since I don't know when. So I like Chad Silva to have a big week this week. And I like him to have a really big season, and excited to get to watch a little bit more of him now. With our WBMS feed, and we'll have an Oliver Ames game on our schedule for probably the first time ever. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to get my eyes on him, and I'm going to ride with him week 1.
That's a good pick. I feel like that one, he definitely flies under the radar, especially for the area, but I liked him a lot. I'm going to go, and I could very much regret this pick. I'll get out in front of that. I feel like I'm taking far too many risks, but that's why we're working out the kinks week 1. Not a good matchup for this team. I'll just get out ahead of it. But I'm going to go with Brody Rice from BC High. I think King Philip is an extremely tough matchup for them. Obviously, King Philip coming off of the Gillette debacle against Catholic Memorial that shouldn't even happen. King Philip probably should have won the D2 title. But I think BC High, this is a get-right year for them, and I think they look to establish the run game against King Philip, and they try to control the pace, and I think they really rely on Brody to do that. So that's why I'm going to take him there.
He's going to be such a huge piece of their offense that I do feel like even in tough weeks, it's going to be hard to miss on some of these guys, and he's one of them in my eyes. All right, Brendan, send us home. Final pick of the draft.
All right, I've got 2 receivers. I got 2 running backs. Now I got to pick a QB. The question is, who has the best matchup? Because I think we know that there's a tier of quarterbacks at the top, like the Matt Festers of the world, the Will Bakers, and then it's kind of like a mixed bag after that. You got to figure out who's got the best matchup, and then you got to see who emerges as a senior, because most quarterbacks have their best year during their final year at school. So I'm going to take a shot here and go with James Tellier out of Braintree. He's got a decent matchup with Woburn in week 1, and I just feel like he's an athlete that we're ready to see explode at Braintree this year. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, he's had a lot of I feel like he and that team have a lot of buzz about them this year. He's expected to make a nice leap, and they have a pretty good receiver room over there. So I like that pick a lot. Woburn coming off of a strong year, but a matchup for Braintree that, Tellier, if he is taking that leap, could very well take advantage of. So that is the draft. We'll run them through again. My first round, my picks: Cassius Johnson, running back from Plymouth South; Will Baker, quarterback from Cohasset; Nate Caldwell, receiver from North Quincy; Jamie Smith, receiver from Cohasset; and Chad Silva, running back from Oliver Ames; Johnny, Matt Festa, quarterback from Duxbury; Chris Walsh, receiver from Duxbury; Lucas Leander, running back from Rockland; Ko Osanubi, receiver from Brockton; and Brody Rice, running back from BCI. And then Brendan, running back Izzy Ricketson out of Abington; wide receiver Cam Montero out of Brockton; running back Colin Morley out of Scituate; wide receiver David Quinlan out of Hanover; and quarterback James Tellier out of Braintree. Those are your week 1 squads. And best of luck to you both, gentlemen.
Let's see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. All right, thank you so much. You can find this on our website, on our Twitter, and airing on Tuesday nights on the main event on 101.1 WBMS right after the 6 o'clock news. Thanks very much.